The Cinnamon, episode 61, the final episode of the year for the Cinnamon for the year 2021. And as we are wont to do for the last couple of years, we will be revealing our top 10 films of the year for now. It's me, your boy Seed, and I'm joined, as always, by film critic elite Douglas Davidson. How are you doing today, good sir?
Okay, first of all, you say elite in the same way the people complaining about Don't Look Up are on Twitter. I might be approved by Rotten Tomatoes. I am not elite.
One of the elites. We have one of the coastal elites, the southern coast of the United States.
I believe you live on the same coast I do, sir.
But I'm not the elite.
My undergrad was certainly not elite. My grad school people consider elite, but you know, it's done me so well so far having that master's.
Are you ready to get down on these top 10? How was the year overall for you, sir? As far as film, is it better than last year, same as last year? Have there been any real banner years of the last couple of years?
Well, I think it all depends. When people say that this year sucked for movies, I think it also requires that someone, or even when they say it was amazing for movies, it's all subjective. So whatever 10 movies I pick, I know Daryl is going to immediately think that it sucks because not a single one of them is The Green Knight.
Yeah,
not a single one of them is The Green Knight.
Who here is surprised?
No. But here's the problem. Here's the problem with these subjective lists. Is my list, for example, is made up of 3 reviews that I did this year for that were 5-star reviews. The rest are 4.5. So from like number 4 on my list to number like 38, 39 on my list are all 4.5-star reviews. I loved these movies, but then it's like, what did I, then you're trying to figure out that hierarchy, because I loved The Green Knight, but there were films that I loved more. So when you've got a list like I do of 71 films that I loved from this year that span from 5-star reviews to 3.5-star reviews, and I've watched close to 500 films this year, I'd say it was a pretty good year for film. I watched a lot of movies, even if I only loved 71 of them thus far.
71 out of 500 is not great ratio. So we're going to say it's a decent year.
Well, here's the thing. You got to keep it's really, I have no problem. There's maybe 2 films out of that I went, why am I watching this?
One of them was not Dolphin Island.
I did not see Dolphin Island. But
thanks for that, buddy. My good old buddy Douglas told me about Dolphin Island.
I couldn't cover it, and I was like, hey, you need a review. I don't know. You could say no.
No,
you didn't have to say yes.
It's nowhere near as bad as I'm making it out to be.
But the point that I'm making is just because I don't love a movie doesn't mean that I wouldn't recommend it or rewatch it. There are plenty of films I saw this year that I'd be like, ooh, you should totally check that out, even if it didn't make my favorites list. So if I can say that there are 2 movies I saw this year that I didn't particularly enjoy, that's pretty good. So I think it just depends. If you're only going to see stuff in theaters, you're not checking out stuff on VOD, you're not checking out stuff from small distributors or mid-range distributors, you're going to have a lame year. And I'm looking at my favorites list from these last few years, and it went from like 32 films to 51 films to 73 films to 71 films. And I saw more films this year than I have in the last 5. And I didn't start seriously writing until like 3 months into 2016. So I think this was a good year for cinema. It really, really was. And a lot of it was, there's stuff that entertains you. And honestly, not everything has to be art. Sometimes it's just something that moves you in some way. That's fucking great. Just yes. Fuck yes. So that's where I am. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, it was an alright.
No, movies sucked.
It was an alright year. No better, no worse than any other year. I don't think anybody down the road is going to look back like 2021 was the year, and like the ways you look at like 82 or 99 and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a good year. It was a good year.
People have a way of looking back on things very differently than they do in the moment.
Yes, that is true. And in the future, I will look back on this moment and say, yeah, it was all right.
We'll check back in when we do our
in 2049. We'll check back in and we'll see what the deal is here. Are you ready to plunge right now? Well, we would like to take time to To clarify, as Doug likes to clarify this every year, this is your top 10 for the moment, because you can't see everything within the calendar year. There might be a little something you sneak in early January that could have made this list. You don't know yet, but this is your top 10 for the year for now.
Absolutely. Particularly because I have a number 9 film that I wouldn't have even predicted would have been on my list until I saw it last week.
Okay, there you go.
And we've still got a couple of days for reviews and awards for the NCFCA, North Carolina Film Critics. So you never know. A movie I haven't watched yet, I might watch and go, that was amazing, and need to throw it in my top 10. But you can always check that out on Letterboxd. Find me on Letterboxd. You will see my favorites list update as I watch stuff throughout the year. So the only person that could really get surprised is if, your list.
That's right. I give you a reason to listen to the show.
Or listen to the show.
Give you, yes. There's no point listening to the show if you could just click a couple links and find it. We're here to talk.
They don't get the why. They don't get the why. Nobody wants to read my shit. You can just listen to it.
Oh, thank you. Speaking of which, man, your French Dispatch review reminded me that I can go pick that up tomorrow at the time of this recording on home release. So thank you for that, sir.
You're very welcome. I'm happy. Even if it's just hey, that's a movie that exists. Then I did my job.
You did your job. All right, then. Anything else before we plunge into this bad boy? You ready to just get ready?
I'm ready to talk about some movies you may not know exist.
I am all about.
Well, not movies. You, but like the people listening.
Oh, also me. So,
no. All these movies I've talked about it. Well, except for one, the new number 9.
Ooh, the new 9. All right, then. Well, I'm going to plunge right in so we can get to your new 9 as quick as possible. Number 10 for me. A joint from January, I do believe, came by the way of a Cinnamon challenge. Derek Delgadio's In and of Itself makes my number 10 list. I rewatched it yesterday just to see if it because it was vying out for something else, and I was like, no. And yeah, it barely snuck in there. If you have not checked out Derek Delgadio's In and of Itself, it is part magic show, part autobiography, and just part life lessons imparted by this man, Derek Delgadio, in the course of, I think it was hundreds, or at the very least, high dozens of shows he performed in New York. Very small, intimate shows, maybe 50, 60 people. Looks like it might have been in the crowd there. Directed by everybody's favorite Yoda, Frank Oz. We get just thank you very much, a one-man stage play that just kind of deserve
a gold brick for that.
I'll find it on the corner of Trade and Tryon, I'm sure, somewhere around there.
That's a different kind of brick.
It was a brick of cocaine you'll find on the corner. Trade and Tryon.
Brick.
And it's just a one-man performance, and like I said, a little bit of sleight of hand, a little bit of magic, just a very natural storyteller. If you were looking for something a little bit out of the ordinary or off the beaten path, I suggest you check this out. It's only 90 minutes. It'll take you through the emotional ringer, and because it is also, like I said, part sleight of hand magic show, you'll get your wow factor in there as well, and just being able to not only watch it for yourself, but also see it through the eyes of the audience that is there. That's what Frank Oz is good at, is showing you the wonder of the people who are actually there seeing it live, and that wonder kind of comes through the screen to you as a viewer. It's kind of hard to describe what all it is or what it's about without just sitting down and checking it out for yourself. So if you are hungover on New Year's Day, as I plan to be, and you're flipping through and you're trying to figure out what you want to check out, you will not be disappointed. It hits Disney Plus Europe on New Year's Eve. So for all you European Popriggans, and shout out to the European section chief, Mr. Drace out there, go ahead and check this out, man, because it is more than worth your while. So that is my number 10, Derek Delgadio's In and of Itself. All you Americans, it's on Hulu right now.
Good pull. I'm a little biased on that one, and we'll talk about why later. My number 10.
You are Derek Delgadio.
What was that?
I said, you are Derek Delgadio.
Surprise, bitches!
Pull off the Mission Impossible mask.
Sorry this is a audio podcast. You didn't see me rip the external dermal layer of my face off.
Ridiculous. I'm sorry for interrupting. What is your number 10, sir?
Totally fine. Totally fine. It was worth it. And you didn't spill any beer, so even better. My number 10 is a documentary about one of my favorite filmmakers. And part of what I love about this filmmaker is that he, for the most part, doesn't give a shit. He makes art he wants to make, and he most often makes it with his friends. And he has found a way to make the filmmaking process, even if it's on the cheap, fun and accessible. And he's turned it into more or less his brand. I am talking about the documentary by Malcolm Ingram, Clerk, which is focused on Kevin Smith.
I still have not watched this.
Do recommend it if you are a fan of his films. There's probably stuff you're going to know, and there's stuff that you're going to go, wait a minute, why aren't you talking about X, Y, and Z? But it is still incredibly moving, and it's still really fascinating to get the perspective of his life from friends and family. It is framed around his heart attack, because they were in the process of making the documentary when this happened, so they were actually able to capture some of this on camera. Just the reaction to it and how people were responding to it, how he was handling it, like letting people know that it happened by way of Instagram, if I remember correctly, when he posted a photo. And even now, he I forget the name of the hill in Hollywood that he hikes up constantly when he's home, and he still posts updates about that kind of stuff. But it's really wonderful. It's really moving. It's not perfect, but it is. For any other filmmaker, you'd be upset that it wasn't perfect, but it's Kevin Smith, so it's good. It works. It works for the things that you're like, oh, but that's a little, it's wonderful and it's sweet, and I can't recommend it enough. That's my number 10.
I wonder if in the middle of the heart attack, he's like, this is going to be great material. Probably not.
For him, not. Maybe. For him, he's the guy that used to what was it? He was trying to get, I don't know if he was actively, like, specifically trying to get Fleshlight sponsorships, but the way he was tweeting about his wife's anus, you never know. So
I think the early Smodcast, he did have a Fleshlight sponsorship for a little bit.
Well, then there you go.
Well, there you go. There you go. It's always possible with that guy. All righty then. Excellent. My number 9, a movie, high controversy surrounded this bad boy, and when it finally came out, it was a good movie. Zack Snyder's Justice League hits my number 9. For it's like a three-layer dip with this movie we got going on. There's a couple of different reasons. One, we are not apt in our lifetime. Never say never. We are rarely, probably not in our lifetime.
Sean Connery.
Never say never. Probably not going to get another 4-hour superhero movie in our day. That's a straight 4-hour super narrative, not something that's broken up into chunks for TV or anything like that. But we are probably not apt to get a 4-hour runtime superhero movie. So I love it just for that alone. It's nice to be able to let the characters breathe in this world and just let the narrative play out without having to rush to hit any kind of specific runtime for theater pushes and all that kind of good stuff. So I love it for a 4-hour superhero movie. Number 2, man, standing on
we're already at number 2.
Standing Blacked on out. Its own, it is a damn fine superhero movie. I think I really enjoy, from a story standpoint and from a technical standpoint, because we know the man knows his action. So you put him in a comic book action realm, he's gonna thrive and succeed, and that's what Zack Snyder does best. And he's also got a lot of good small character beats in there, that because of that 4-hour runtime, again, these characters are allowed to breathe. There's a lot of heavy lifting that's happened in this movie. You got to reestablish 2 of your superheroes. Superman's dead, so he don't need establishing. And you also have to
fuck that guy.
And you also have to introduce 3 new superheroes that's never been in live action theatrically before. So you got a whole lot of juggling, a whole lot of bowling pins in the air, and I think he, for the most part, does a pretty damn good job. Yeah. And then 3, it's hard to not compare it talk about it without comparing it to its original theatrical bastardized cousin. and it succeeds on every single possible level. And I think part of the reason why I like it so much is I've never seen such a dire, drastic change in any director's cut, because that's essentially what this is, that elevated it to such a different level. So yeah, there's for many different reasons I really, really dig. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I was, or as much as I ended up liking it. It really took me by surprise, which is how it made the list. It is rewatched it 2 or 3 days ago at the time of this recording, and yeah, loved it all over again. I think it's my 5th time seeing it.
I was about to say you watched it initially and then you watched it again, then the Justice is Gray version. So you watched it 3 times? Am I remembering that right?
3 times. I watched it again like a day or two later. Justice is Gray hit a day I had to work 3 a.m. So I just watched it then, got the 4K when it came out, watched it then, and then watched it again. Another 2 or 3 times since then. Yeah.
I do agree with you. It sits at number 49 on my list. It's just above Eternals. And I agree with you on just about everything that you've said. It is a phenomenal film. And it's one of those movies where, as a film critic, you want to watch it because everybody's going to be talking about it. And so you sort of feel like you should have an opinion on it.
It'll be part of the zeitgeist.
Exactly. I did not expect as well to finish it and immediately go, I got to talk about this movie, or I want to rewatch this. Like there was shock and surprise at a need to revisit it after having watched a 4-hour movie. And for me, what told me that I knew it was going to be different than what we had hoped the theatrical would be comes in the opening moments of Bruce trying to convince Arthur, and he speaks the language. Mm-hmm. It's not the line about, so I hear you talk to fish. It's he speaks the language, which is what causes Arthur to pick him up, slam him into the wall, and then he pulls out money. Going with the thread, Bruce would be able to speak the language. And the fact that the theatrical implies that he's less equipped was frustrating.
Yeah. You know how many people since this movie came out I have slammed up against the walls hoping they pull out a stack of money for me. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. I will say is I feel like I think it's fairly obvious that Batman is Zack Snyder's guy. Which I also find weird because you don't get Batman until like 90 minutes into this thing. He is the last, well, I guess maybe Superman is the last, so he's the next to last to be showing up in his Batman outfit, and then he just disappears in the 3rd act, which I didn't really notice until like this last time or two. Like everyone's got their little moment. Superman comes flying in to save the day, and Aquaman and Wonder Woman helping him out, and Cyborg's doing his thing, and Flash is building up his charge, and then they cut the Batman every 5 minutes, like shooting a parademon and scuttling behind a rock real quick. And I'm like, well, you're way out of your element here, Bruce, but you hang in there. So that's kind of why people like Batman, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, number 9, Zack Snyder's Justice League.
My number 9, I've been excited. What was that?
I said new 9.
New 9. This one was not. My 10, I felt like had been locked. There's some that have been on here since January, some that have been on here since March, et cetera, and they've sort of held their ground. And then I watched this film that I knew was coming. I wasn't excited about, and then the first trailer dropped, and I went, I want to know nothing else. I don't want to see articles. I don't want to see images. I don't want to know anything else about this movie. The YouTube channel for Elements of Madness, I post trailers. I uploaded more trailers for this movie. I didn't fucking watch them. Crystal watched them. She let me know that they were operating appropriately. I scheduled them on EOM Facebook. I didn't fucking watch them. And I'm so glad that I didn't. This is a movie that has apparently been controversial. You certainly have feelings on it, which I do not know. And I would be delighted to hear them as we record this now. But my new number 9 is Lana Wachowski's The Matrix Resurrections. I have seen it twice now. Mm-hmm. I watched it. I wrote my review. I then rewatched the first one, and I went, holy shit. And And then I rewatched Resurrections, and I saw from 4 they took things from 1 and planted it over there. I love Resurrections, and I want to talk to Crystal about it. My fucking kids won't sleep, so she doesn't have time in the evenings when I'm free, which has been few and far between these days. But I want to go back and I want to rewatch it. I can't wait for the home release announcement. I'm hoping to go and at least watch it 2 more times before it leaves HBO Max. I am so fucking pissed that I'm not getting to the theater, and I know some people are like, but it's totally fun to go to the theaters. Connor has skin issues, which make it really difficult to get him to take the goddamn vaccine. We've tried twice. We're trying to convince him to go. He won't do it. And so until he's protected, I don't feel comfortable going to the theater because I don't want to accidentally, whatever. So don't want to kill my kids. I've kept them alive this long.
Mm-hmm.
But I fucking love this movie. The way that it takes everything from the previous 3 films and brings everything forward, but also recontextualizes some things. The way that it takes Neo, who we saw as this strong fighter, and takes his last act and continues that forward. The last act of nonviolence, the last act of submission, and carries that forward. The conversation that begins in Reloaded, that continues in Revolutions, about not being able to see past a choice you haven't made, when they're talking about the dreams. Well, now Trinity's having the dreams. And Neo is creating guides for himself because he can't remember what's real and what's not real, which, of course, the fact that the analyst is basically the Oracle meets the architect. And combining these 2 things to then go, oh, hey, we're not only going to put you in a matrix, if you will, but we're going to make it so that you don't trust your own mind, so that even if, like, the real world stuff that we use with our son to try and help him calm down and emotionally regulate is the kind of shit the analyst is using with Neo. There's some really brilliant stuff in there, and that's not even getting into the idea of sequels and video games, which this stuff had, and Morpheus died in one of the games apparently.
Yeah,
which was canon.
Canon.
I fucking loved this film, and even the things that I have problems with, it's part of why I want featurettes. It's part of why I want commentary, because I want to hear it discussed. I've got theories. I want some analysis.
Commentary is a dead art.
It's frustratingly dead, and I'm hoping that it won't be so with this. What did you think? And I know we've got more films to talk about, but what did you think?
I thought it was all right.
Okay.
On the one hand, I kind of see why Lily was like, that's all you. Go ahead and do it. I'm out. The first half I was all in for, and it's the back half I was like, okay, fine. I'm not a huge fan of, like, to me, the MVP of that movie is co-shared by Jessica Henwick. I would have wanted far more with just her and Yaya as Morpheus. Yaya looked like he was having a blast.
Someone described him as, if Bugs is the White Rabbit, Yaya is the Cheshire Cat. And I went, yes.
That's exactly what it is. He looks like he's having the time of his life. Unfortunately, you don't get too much of him in the flesh, as it were. And that's the thing. I honestly, I could have done without all of the Neo stuff. That was just okay, fine. The story for me that was there was, give me something with Jessica Henwick and her crew of people. Let them go on an adventure. I wanted more with that group of people, and fortunately, didn't get it. That wasn't what the story was about. So, not going to complain about it. But
you just did.
Yeah, I'm not going to be like, I didn't get what I want. I would have liked to have seen more out of that. In the end, I'm holding all final reservations to see if they do a 5. Because if the way I happen to look at it is, if they do a 5 and they continue on with whatever they do with Neil Patrick Harris and maybe Groff and all that, who was great. I'll be 100% okay. If we don't get anything after this, I kind of don't see the point of why the movie was made. Oh, hey, we can get Neo. And they get Neo back, and Neo's like, I ain't doing shit without my lady. And they're like, okay, let's go get his lady. And they go get his lady. And I'm like, okay, so now what are we gonna do? And that's where the movie ends right there for me. So if there's like a 5 and they're like, okay, so now we're gonna do some new shit, I'll be like, all right, now I'm on board with everybody. We get to see some new shit happening. Or just be like, hey, Neo and Trinity are gonna live their happy little lives out here, and now let Jessica Henwick and her crew get down with the get down. That I would be very much for.
I don't mind if this is it, if only because of the way it mirrors the first film visually and somewhat structurally. I don't mind it at all. They end in a similar fashion. There's moments in the final fight, if you will, that are very reminiscent of several big moments in the first film. And one of the things that I love about it is that, and this is a bit of a spoiler, so keep that in mind. But Trinity goes through a similar experience that Neo does at the end of the first Matrix, and the fact that she goes through that and survives, and then the one is that dyad.
Mm-hmm.
They are the anomaly. It fucking rules, and it was set up in the first film that was going to be possible. So I'm okay with this as a bookend for that story, personally. To see more of the other characters, fuck yeah, that's a world. Like 60 years, shit happened, and there's stuff there. And the fact, this, to me, I loved having Cine Animatrix. 01 was the name of the Machine City.
Mm-hmm.
Io is the name of the human Machine City.
Still your ones and O's, man.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's my number 9.
Excellent. Yeah. I thought it was okay. My number 8, French Dispatch, man. It is towards the bottom of my overall Wes Anderson rankings, I would think. But still, for me, weaker Wes is still top notch in this particular year of movies that we got. If you're not sure, or if you're unsure, not sure what the French Dispatch is all about, the basic premise being that we have a newspaper, which is edited by Bill Murray, called the French Dispatch. It is his decree that, I think it's in his will, that when he dies, the very last episode or the very last issue will be his obit and former articles, like I guess probably hit articles that were once posted throughout the years of the French Dispatch will be republished along with this obit there. And what we get are those 3 hit pieces that accompany that last issue of the French Dispatch, and they close on the working of his obit there. So you get 3 small stories. That's basically what this is, after a little bit of an intro. One with four.
Yeah, the first one is the cyclist with Owen Wilson. Then there's the next 3.
That's what I call the intro, is the cyclist.
Oh, okay. My apologies.
Yeah. You get like a setup, then a little intro that brings you into the world of ennui, and then the actual stories themselves. Your Francis, Tilda Swinton story, then your Francis McDormand story, and then your Jeffrey Wright story. So
I apologize, I threw you off a little.
It's not a problem at all. Each varying qualities. I think the first one is not great at all. I think the second one is far better. And the third one is some of the best Wes Anderson that he has made in that little 20, 30 minutes, however long it is. And it's Wes Anderson at probably, well, definitely his most Wes Anderson-y. I think he indulged in all of his whims and all of his excesses and just swung for the fences. And I think he tried to see just how far he could take storytelling and just how much he could show his love and admiration of basically the New Yorker, which is a magazine I assume was made for Wes Anderson. It's funny. It's got some decent poignant moments in it, man. Once again, another all-star cast all throughout. Like I said, each story has various mileage. What worked for you might not work for me. What I love, you might find everyone better. And I think that there's something that's entertaining about that, is you can walk away and have those discussions of which of the 3 were your favorites, and of this whole ensemble cast, who stood out for you. So yeah, the first time I watched it, I was like, I don't know, this isn't doing it for me. And I think he knows the quality of each one of those. I think it's structured in a way that it's okay, good, really good. It gets better as the movie goes along. So it's not like an inconsistent tone. It's just constantly building up more and more steam. So yeah, number 8 for me, The French Dispatch.
I'm not going to speak much on it. Rewatched it recently for the home release, and I noticed on the second that sequence with Owen Wilson really does set up the other areas in which our story takes place. I didn't notice that the first time around. And the stories play a little bit better once you're more familiar with them. But it is, I would agree, and I think this is how my review started, it is the most Wes Anderson movie we've seen. And out of, this is his 10th film, if I remember correctly, most of them are available on Criterion. So I don't know if you want to hold off on that home release purchase, because they may do a Criterion release.
Yeah, and that was the plan. I saw, and you mentioned that in your review as well. And I was like, oh man, I go out and get, and I was like, oh yeah, there's not going to be, but then again, I don't know how long it's going to take for them to make that announcement. So I might just go ahead and pick it up on Blu-ray, and then somewhere down the road, and once I have it, I'm not in a rush to go out and get the Criterion, depending on what those special features might be. But yeah,
I was about to say the home release currently has 0 special features. The only thing that you get is a Blu-ray, DVD. If I forget if the DVD comes with the Blu-ray and a digital copy. All I was given for the home release, not complaining, was a digital copy. So I don't know what comes with the physical side. Yeah. But there are 0 bonus features, no matter the version you get.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I'll probably just scoop it up and then pick up the Criterion whenever. I have all of his other movies in Criterion, so the completionist in me will go ahead and scoop that up too. Yeah, I know I'm more of a Wes Anderson dude than you are. What were your thoughts overall on the movie? What segment did you prefer, if any of them?
Jeffrey Wright's. It was the most interesting to me, the more dynamic. And in particular, I found the switch to animation to be fascinating.
I found it to be ridiculous, and I loved it.
Yeah.
The moment it switched over, I started laughing.
Yeah, and it's also the kind of thing where there's no animation at all that I remember except for that moment. So it's very strange, but at the same time, it's a very Wes Anderson, hey, we can't do this moment we want to do realistically, even for me, by my weird ass standards. So I'm going to do it with animation. So awesome. But it's a more compelling story. To me, it felt a little bit more human, if that makes sense, where the others are a bit more exaggerated. Like this shot, Tilda Swinton telling the story of the artist, and we get a shot of her naked, and I'm like, why is this there? Why is this funny? How does this help the story? Whereas I forget the actress's name, Leah
Seydoux.
Who plays the prisoner, or not the guard at the prison. I get why we see her naked. It's her introduction is as the model, and so the artist, but played by Benicio del Toro, seems like he's in control because he's the artist, but it sets up their dichotomy. As soon as she's like, no, I'm slapping your hand away.
Slap the hand away.
And then she gets dressed, and it's like, get the fuck back in your cell. It's to talk about their power dynamic. There were little things where I'm going, I don't get what this film's doing, but in that segment with Jeffrey Wright, it all made sense.
It all made sense. That segment with Benicio, I think this is his second. I do believe he's in Grand Budapest somewhere. Benicio. This is his first or second. He does not fit with the repertoire characters that he usually brings back, and I kind of do understand why he keeps bringing him back after criticisms have been levied against him. But I don't think Benicio fits within the worlds of Wes.
I didn't mind him in this. What I am disappointed in is you for not making the Bond connection between him and her.
Well, it was Wes Anderson, James Bond, and I didn't see those movies.
Benicio,
or being a Bond villain.
Yeah.
We have two.
He gets 8. He gets 8 by a shark. It was his first movie role.
Yeah, first role. I just saw at work today, I think it was Mission Impossible 5. I forget Lance Seydoux an assassin in a Mission Impossible movie. And I was like, oh, yeah, completely forgot that was a thing. She killed Josh Holloway, Sawyer from Lost, in the opening scenes of the movie.
And well, fuck that guy. Yeah, I got nothing.
Your number 8.
Number 8 is a movie that is actually, I saw it at South by Southwest virtually. It is currently available on HBO Max. I cannot recommend this film enough. It's directed by Lizette Feliciano. I believe she also wrote it. It is a film called Women is Losers. She did also write it. Okay. It's a film called Women is Losers. It's set in the 1960s. And yes, if you are familiar with Janis Joplin, it is based on the song Women is Losers, or it gets its name from that. If you are not familiar with Janis Joplin as I am, hey, guess what? The name Women is Losers comes from Janis Joplin's song. But it takes place in the 1960s. It is in San Francisco. It deals with racism, sexism, women's rights, a whole number of things. It's a drama. It's a comedy. It is complex. It is fucking incredible. And it is handled mostly by actor Lorenza Izzo. She plays the lead character, who we watch as a young student who is doing wonderful in school. She's in love with a boy who has gone off to fight for the military, and he comes home. She's she's raised in a religious home. And of course, you know, when you're in love and whatever else, when a boy really loves a girl and a girl really loves a boy, sometimes they make it the sex and she gets pregnant. And so it sort of follows will she get an abortion? Will she try to get an abortion? What happens as a result of dealing with these issues? And as things continue through the years, and whether or not this couple can put it together. Simu Liu is also in it. He's wonderful in this as well. But the thing that really helps for me with this film is the fact that when it opens, as you're meeting these characters, they look at the camera and tell everybody, hey, we're a small picture, so we can't afford set dressing. We can't afford any of these other things. So we're just going to make our movie in present day San Francisco. Work with us on this. And it is just beautiful and wonderful and charming. I finished watching the movie. I grabbed Crystal and went, come here. You're not going to bed yet. And I showed her the opening of this movie. It is, again, streaming on HBO Max. I cannot recommend it enough. Please, please, please check it out.
There you go. There you go. I will put that on the list of things that I as well need to check out. You brought that up earlier in the year on the old Cinnamon there. I remember.
Yeah, that. Everything but Matrix I've discussed on the show, so I won't get as deep into each of them because I've talked about them so much.
Go back and listen to every episode of 2021 to figure out.
You should. You should. If you like any of these things, go track down the other episodes.
And go check out the other episodes. Number 7 for me. Speaking of that French sensation, Léa Seydoux, No Time to Die.
Blue is the warmest color.
The blue is the warmest. I still haven't seen that movie.
I haven't seen that either.
I've heard it's pretty damn good. I do need to check that out. Yeah, No Time to Die, man. The final Craig entry into the James Bond franchise. His fifth outing as Bond, and
Skyfall is the big middle finger. Because the first 2 are one story, the last 2 are one story, and Skyfall's like, fuck y'all, I'm on my own.
It's Skyfall, and it more than holds up on its own. That's for sure.
So good.
So good. He needed this, man, because he could not just dip out after Spectre, and I feel like he knew that he couldn't. I feel like if Spectre had been great, then we would not have gotten No Time to Die. He would have rode off into the sunset, because it seems like from what he was putting out there, he was more than ready to be done with the franchise. But Spectre kind of wasn't up to critical expectations, let's say. And I feel like he didn't want to end on that down note, especially after what we got in Skyfall. So managed to get him back for one more, and what an outing they made it. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. Tells, a whole complete story of James Bond, I think. We get shades of him we've never seen in the other 24 movies. I think it's 24 movies that preceded this. A very Bond-like villain. I'm not a huge fan of most of Rami Malek's work, but this he nails. Like, they're like, we need a creepy ass dude for this. Get Rami Malek on the phone immediately. I think his delivery was like just perfectly like metered out, weirdly and creepily. His character design was really like stark and stood out. Like he looked great, he sounded great, he acted great. Rami Malek's his performance there kind of elevated him in the list of Bond villains to me, which I was not expecting going into the movie. Craig does what he does best, man. And he's always the great when he's in the Bond mode. Lea Seydoux doesn't have as much to do, unfortunately, because she's a great actress, but still great seeing her. A little bit long. I think you can probably shave off about 10-15 minutes out of that. When I rewatched it the other day, I was thinking, yeah, you could probably take about 15 minutes off. And then I think about it, I'm like, I don't know what 15 minutes you would take off, though. Maybe some of the Blofeld stuff was a little bit unnecessary. So that could have been chucked for a more slim runtime. But overall, man, great action, fun, shocking, surprising. And I am interested to see where the franchise goes from here, because we did get the James Bond will return after that. So it just remains to be seen who the next Bond's going to be. So we'll have unsufferable clickbait articles for the next 2 years, and just to see, where what's the future of the franchise from here. But it has ended on a fairly high note as of right now.
I would agree. For those of you that have been thinking about picking up No Time to Die, if you haven't already, do keep in mind that the bonus features are mostly limited to the 4K release, which I find really surprising. I got a 4K review copy, and ordinarily the bonus features, even if they're on the 4K disc, they're either replicated or there are some on the Blu-ray. There are literally none on the Blu-ray, and the digital copy only has, and it's really wonderful, but only has about a 46-minute Being James Bond, and it's Daniel Craig and
Broccoli's.
Yes. I was trying to remember their names and right out of my brain, talking about him being sought for the role, auditioning, all the way through No Time to Die. It is wonderful. And it's actually because of that I went back and rewatched Casino Royale. Fucking awesome. And I'm in the middle of rewatching Quantum of Solace, which, while not my favorite, does have one of my favorite moments in all of cinema of background work. You've seen the guy not busking. He's pushing the leaves behind Bond, but his broom isn't touching.
Never hits the ground.
But in Being James Bond, they actually talk about the difficulty of making this movie because it was happening. The writer turned in his draft, got his check, literally went out of the building, picked up a placard, and started picketing. And they knew that there was going to be an actor strike on top of it. So they had to sort of work with what they had. And yeah, Craig started doing more stunts with that film. And then he actually got hurt and then kept doing stuff. So Spectre, learning in this movie that's on the bonus features about sort of what he was going through making Spectre. Yeah, it probably would have been okay if he had made another one. But I'm glad he did. I'm glad he got the ending he wanted.
Yeah, and yes, I think that's the best way to describe it. I'm glad he got the ending that he wanted, and it's an ending that befits his run of movies like that. You're going to be hard pressed to find a more complete grouping of movies. Like we've had, regardless of who your guy is, quote unquote, all those movies are very independent, and you can watch any one of them at any time, especially right now in December when it's James Bond time. If you remember TBS back in the day.
Yeah.
But this is a solid grouping of movies, I think we'll be going back to one-off. So we're not going to see anything like this again for a while.
It wouldn't surprise me if they did something like that. And it always amused me when the other films would reference the history. Tomorrow Never Dies, one of the big problems between Bond and I can't think of her name all of a sudden, but the wife, she was Lois and Clark. Terry Hatcher, thank you. Was that Bond wouldn't commit to her because his last marriage had fallen apart. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was in Her Majesty's Secret Service. You
fell apart with a bullet to the head.
So they were playing off of that trauma. Yeah. So I always liked when they did little things like that. But you are correct. This is a very confined and connected set of films. So
Great action.
Good choice.
What's your number 7 there, sir?
Mine is a singular film. It is not a prequel. It is not a sequel. It is its own thing. Well, I will say it is a slight adaptation in that it began as a short film and then became this bigger project. It is Emma Seligman's, excuse me, my brain's not working. Emma Seligman's Shiva Baby. It was originally released in 2020, I think at Sundance, and then of course the world fell apart. So it got a proper wider release this year. For those of you that liked Uncut Gems and want another movie involving a Jew going through a highly stressful situation, but maybe gambling's not your thing, check out Shiva Baby. It's about a college student who is a sugar baby. And after she meets with a sugar daddy, she has to go to a funeral service known in the Jewish community as a Shiva, where you go to the bereaved's home and pay your respects. And so she goes with her mother, her father. She's there with all of her relatives when the sugar daddy walks in. So, and by the way, her ex-girlfriend is there too. So there's the familial stuff, there's the social expectations, generational expectations, cultural expectations. It's all kinds of fucked up. Rachel Sennott plays the lead. Molly Gordon, who was phenomenal in Booksmart and has played some other really great little roles. She plays the ex-girlfriend. Polly Draper's in this. Fred Melamed is in this, and he's always fucking great when he shows up in shit. This is a phenomenal cast from top to bottom. They know how to draw all the anxiety and discomfort out of every single fucking moment. The cinematography is great. The score is uncomfortable. And I can't recommend it enough. It is a movie I am dreading a rewatch, and I so fucking want to rewatch this movie.
Yeah, I had it on my list of things I need to watch by the end of the year, and I piled through that list, and I still have not gotten to Shiva Baby yet, but it is on the list. It is on the list.
If I get lucky, if I have my way, it'll end up on your ballot for the NCFCA. And if you can't get a screener, drive on over to my house. I'll lend you the DVD.
All right. It is sitting in my inbox. I'm not sure if that link is still good, but it is sitting in the old inbox there. So I will get to it. All right then. Very nice there. Very nice. I've heard nothing but good things on the on lines about it. My number 6. And yet again, reminding all my fellow NCFCA critics that Best Things of 2021 encompasses all of 2021, not Correct. Just what came after the Oscars of 2021. Correct. Judas and the Black Messiah is my number 6. Man, just talk about well done. I'm a huge fan of using dramatic irony, us knowing things that the character doesn't. In this case, we know that Keith Stanfield's character, of course, also all based on real life stuff. Black Panther, Fred Hampton getting clapped out in his apartment there.
Damn,
that's exactly,
just said that so unceremoniously.
That's exactly what happened. We know the story. Hopefully you all know the story.
I do now.
But we see it from both sides, from the feds using Lakeith Stanfield's character to get closer to Fred Hampton, and just
Jesse Plemons, so fucking shady,
bro. Jesse Plemons, but Jesse Plemons had himself a year with his giant wobbly head. I love that dude.
Why do you have to do that? You could just give the man a compliment.
Every time I see him, I'm like, look at that fucking Kool-Aid dome-headed Jesse Plemons just killing it on screen. And he's never really a dick about it. He's just always even keeled throughout the movie.
His character, not Jesse Plemons.
No, I'm starting to think that's just Jesse Plemons because of all the roles I've seen, most of the roles I've seen of his, he's always just steady. Like I'm thinking of Ending Things. He's always just kind of that even keeled, steady guy. I was thinking about rewatching it the other day. Power of the Dog. He's a fairly like even keeled, like soft spoken, kind of calm, laid back Jesse Plemons. That's my Jesse Plemons, and that's kind of what you get here in this movie as the FBI agent who's kind of orchestrating all of this, or parts of it at least. And it's just good. This is good acting. this is just an example of great directing and great acting coming out of Daniel Kaluuya, Lakeith Stanfield. Who's the best actor? Who's the best supporting actor? We don't know.
Nobody fucking knows.
Nobody knows. But it did get Kaluuya his first Oscar for supporting. It was supporting, for supporting.
Was the fucking Black Messiah. Well, that makes sense. He's not the and. He's not the Judas. He's the Black Messiah.
He's the Black Messiah. Yeah. And I think this movie hopefully, when it came out, might have opened up a little bit of eyes of what the Black Panthers were. I think some people have some distorted impressions of what, or maybe this is a little bit of not that Black Panther.
Not
the Wakanda Forever.
The other, right.
The 70s to 60s Black Panther. I think there's a bit of a distorted view of how they are seen, or how they were perceived back then, and they are there to help the community, and they do a great job in the movie of showing Fred Hampton's dedication to growing the community and just making sure that the kids were cared after, that the people had foods in their homes. So it is a very positive light on this what has since been maligned community of people, the Black Panthers, this organization. Great movie.
Do agree. My number 6 is a movie that has not come out to wide audiences yet. It has been in film festivals, and the moment that it was offered, hey, do you want to check this out for awards consideration? I said, fuck yes, give it to me. Because I couldn't cover, when I covered film festivals that were screening it, for some reason links weren't available. But come the end of the year for awards consideration, they fall like manna from heaven. I do not understand it. But this is a new film from Mamoru Hosoda. He did, which I loved, Mirai. I absolutely loved Mirai. I hope to show it to Connor one day because of some of his struggles with being an older brother. He loves it, but it doesn't have some great times. So I think he would in particular love that. Summer Wars, which I watched thanks to one-time guest in the show, Michael Reyes, who I hope comes back. He recommended I check out Summer Wars. Summer Wars is fucking amazing. And this new movie is called Belle. Now, I will have a full spoiler-free review of Belle coming out on January 10th, ahead of its January 14th release. I'm just going to say right now, it is number 6 on my list for a reason. And the reason for that is it fucking opened me up. I was watching it, and when people talk about art making you see things that you've never seen before, or realized before, I noticed something about myself in regards to my upbringing, in regards to some of my relationships, and it fucking broke my ass. And it was wonderful that I was in therapy. I am in therapy already. I've gone back to it. And so I was able to discuss and unpack this realization. I cannot recommend Belle enough, not because I think you'll have that moment. This was very unique in a way to me and my experience growing up. But Belle, even though it's loosely inspired by Beauty and the Beast, is not the Beauty and the Beast story.
Okay.
It is not, but it is fucking amazing. And if you like his work, please do. Please support it. Please check it out when it comes out in January.
Well, there you go. I saw it in my inbox and I was like, nah, I'm good, and deleted it. So
you, go get it.
I'll go dig
it's
it around.
8:35. We will fuck this podcast. Go watch the movie. You can submit your nominations.
I will go dig that at the trash can, put it back in the inbox for you there, sir.
Good.
All right, excellent. My number, that's your number 6, right? Yes, that was my number 6. Number 5.
I'm keeping a list. I'm keeping a list.
I like it. Check it.
I'm checking it once.
Okay, we're tired mentally. We don't need to check twice. Check once. My only foreign language film making its way on the list, man.
I was like, of the year? Damn.
Yeah, Benedetta. Oh boy. This movie was nothing what I expected, and Paul Verhoeven is back. If you are unaware of what Benedetta is all about, it is based on supposedly not supposedly, we know that Benedetta was
based on a book,
based on a book, or on an actual person too.
Mm-hmm.
Benedetta was not a saint, just a religious figure who was generally considered to be the world's first lesbian nun that we know about. I always like to preface that we know about it. There might have been a couple that were like, maybe I should keep this shit to myself. The world's first openly out, or at least that was found out about.
Until religion made it a problem, I bet there were a lot more of them.
So religion made it a problem. Came to the convent as a child, grew up in the convent, and then kind of grew her way into power. And the means of how she came to her prominence, she came to run said convent, a little bit dubious at best. Some people have questions about whether or not the religious experiences she's having are real, or if is it a fake or is it a true? And it grows to the attention of like the local cardinal or bishop of that area, and he gets in on it. He starts investigating, man, and she eventually. Not that kind of investigation. It is torture scenes and everything else.
Sexy investigation.
If anyone could do it, it's Paul Verhoeven. And she gets outed and whatnot, and it does not definitively tell you was the stigmatas that she has, or all the things that she claims happened. Was it actually happening, or was she perpetrating the whole thing? It kind of rides the line, but I think it slightly hints at, she ran these cats for all their shit, and maybe was not as authentic as she was. And if that is the case, I love it even more. And on top of that, it's just a good, sexy religious thriller, which is words I didn't expect.
What a combination.
Yeah, right.
Sexy religious thriller.
It's a sexy religious thriller.
Does Bruce Willis show up in this one?
Unfortunately, no. It's great, man. I did not expect. I was like, all right, let me get some foreign languages under my belt. Let me see the time out and something. I gotta submit these awards, and was hooked, riveted, loved every second of it, man. It is unflinching. The things they make dildos out of, quite interesting. I, as a fan of all things sacrilegious, had a blast watching this movie. You will too. What's your number 5, Doug?
My number 5 will surprise no one. I've spoken about this film at length. According to Letterboxd, I've logged it 9 times this year. And it's the 27th of December. Likely I'm not going to hit 10. I'm not going to speak on it any more than just to say that Michael Rianda's The Mitchells versus the Machines was perhaps one of the most unexpected delights of this year. I thought it was just going to be sort of a family comedy, family drama amid the apocalypse type of thing. But seeing one, I identified with the lead character because I'm a film dork, and my means of communicating with people is through movies, whether it's recommending a film or showing them a scene or quoting it. I mean, shit, my father-in-law gave me movie quotes for all occasions for Christmas, this book, which I found an error in randomly. They have the wrong fucking actor in a movie that they've
credited the wrong.
They put Salma Hayek in a movie she was not in.
Yeah, was it Jennifer Lopez?
No, Kate Del Castillo, I believe. Hope I haven't fucked up her name, but it was the movie The Book of Life. And I looked at it and I was like, that's a great quote. I don't think someone said this. She didn't.
Selma showed her, like, where's my royalties?
Yeah, but so like the beginning of the movie, when you meet Kate and when you meet Katie and she's like, behold cinema, and then she shows her class some weird shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's me. So and then her brother Aaron, who Rihanna voiced, has a lot of traits that are neurodivergent, and we see a lot of that with our son and with some of my family members and everything else. So this movie touched me in a wonderful way, in a safe place with my permission, and my son loves it, and it's fucking wonderful. So that's my number 5.
All right, then, right on. I remember a couple of months back, I was like, that goddamn Douglas Davis still hasn't watched The Green Knight, and Liz is like, if you would stop watching The Mitchells versus the Machines, maybe he could get around to watching it.
I will never stop watching it. It's out on home video. I can watch it whenever I want.
There you go, done and done. I was expecting that to be in your top 3, but number 5, surprises all around. My
number 4 may surprise you.
Oh, click to the next podcast to find out.
Yeah. No, just keep listening.
Just keep listening to this one. I'm going with Michael Sarnowski's Pig for my number 4. It was one of those joints I was like, what? Nick Cage's pig gets stolen? He has to go get it back. Whatever. And then I saw the trailer and I was like, nah, still not watching this joint. And I don't know what got me to check it out, but I reached out to Neon and I was like, man, send me this shit and I'll review it. And man. I know how much of a Mandy fan that you are. Mm-hmm. For me, man, this is the preeminent Nick Cage right here. I mean, he is amazing in this movie. This is Nick Cage's movie to lose, and he plays his part and plays well. Alex Wolff, there's the supporting, excellent. I'll be nominating him as one of my supporting actor spots. If you're unaware, what we said.
Has been on mine and will continue to stay on it.
Good man. If you're unfamiliar, Nick Cage is a truffle hunter. He's got his trusty truffle pig with him. They have a very close bond. Sarnowski is very adept at very, very quickly showing how close the bond is between him and his pig, because that pig is yanked at like the 11-minute mark and we are off to the races. He lives out in the woods. He's got one contact with Seattle or Portland. I always get those two damn cities mixed up. Portland, yes. He's only got one contact there in the big city of Portland. It's the person who comes, gets the truffles, and drops off the money that he pays for those truffles and any, kind of city supplies. Their relationship isn't great, played by Alex Wolff. And it's just his journey of trying to find his pig back opens up a larger journey of Alex Wolff kind of coming into his own man, coming from underneath his father's shadow. Nick Cage's character kind of regaining a bit of his lost humanity since he's been out on his own for so long. It shows you this weird underbelly of Portland's service industry, which I thought was a strange, fascinating thing to take a look at. I doubt that underground fighting rings exist, but I do know that there is an underground service community because I've been part of said service community.
I was about to say some of the chefs, the chefs I've worked with. Oh, I bet they're fucking some people.
It is a wonderfully human movie, and I think it is some of the best Nick Cage. I think one of the best scenes of the year is him breaking down his former employee at said employees. Now he owns his own restaurant, and Cage comes in and just breaks it down. Like, I remember the man you used to be, the person who had goals and hopes and dreams, and instead just chasing the next big trend and what makes people happy. What about what makes you happy? And just seeing the soul stripped away from that actor's face is an amazing scene to watch, man. And it's all around for a debut from Michael Sarnowski, man. He landed in a big bad way here with Pig. It is an incredible movie, and I suggest everyone go check it out as soon as you're done listening to the show.
I agree with all of that. Even if it's not as high up on my list, it's only because the movies that are hit me in such a way. And my number 4 is one you spoke of, Derek Delgadio's In and of Itself. That's my number 4. And so just to add on to it, one of the things with this show, and I'd heard of the show well before I heard about this filmed staged version of it. But that when you go into the show, there are these little tags that you take and it says, I am, and you pull off whatever you see yourself as. And the whole show is about unraveling the idea that you are more than just one thing. You are, you might see yourself as something, but that's not the entirety of you.
Yeah.
And I've seen it twice. Once by myself, and then I showed it to Crystal a few days later. And I, even knowing where the story was going, I found it actually even more powerful. And I have cried twice watching it. Once the first time, once the second time. Second time I was smart enough to have the tissues close by instead of across the room. So again, I would highly recommend checking this film out. It is moving and hilarious and all kinds of wonderful. It is on Hulu now, and you said coming to where in 2022?
Disney Plus Europe
There you
and
go.
Ireland. Yeah, I think it was Disney Plus Europe and Ireland. Is what's
Yeah,
coming to
the
on New Year's Eve.
because everybody outside of the US with Disney Plus, they get the adult shit because us in America fucking
Yeah.
tight ass.
Yes.
But anyway, that's my number 4. What's your number 3?
Disney has their domestic brand to protect. Number 3, man, oh man. Finished watching it mere minutes before this show started for the umpteenth time. I'm
like ever?
no, I'm talking about Dune. Oh, good lord. Oh, good lord. Dune is
Just shooting spice everywhere, man.
shooting spice everywhere. It is the greatest science fiction offering we were given this year. It is an event. It is massive in scale, in scope, in spectacle. It takes, much like Lord of the Rings, I thought unadaptable book, and it did a damn fine job adapting it. Like every adaptation, things had to get cut, things get a little bit shifted around, but how Denis Villeneuve handles the script, how he handles the direction, I think this is one of the great ensemble casts of the year. I think everyone is playing their role to a T. There are very few, if any, weak links in the acting. I like the runtime that we're allowed to just stew in Arrakis, and also as unexpected as it was on Caladan, they give us a lot of good looks at the lushness of Caladan before they head over to Arrakis to remind us of what they are losing, what they will never see again when they get there. That very sparse use of the color green once they hit Arrakis. So when it does pop up, you're like, oh shit, vegetation. I forgot that was a thing on this planet in some places. Just a lot of smart choices. I think he learned a lot from Blade Runner 2049 and some of the missteps there with the audience reception. He kind of tinkered a little bit to see if he could improve upon that part of things. I think he succeeded. It is just a wonderful spectacle of a movie to watch, man. From a technical standpoint, from a storytelling standpoint, Dune is a top tier science fiction movie. Part 1.
I'm looking forward to revisiting it, if depending on how things go. I won't get into all that while we're recording, but I should be rewatching it this week to do the home release review. And one thing I'm hoping that gets explained in the bonus features, having not read the book, there's this big thing played up between Chalamet's character and Moma's character, and I don't understand the relationship beyond the fact that they seem to have great care and love for each other. It's just like, hey, you're a guy, I'm excited to see you. Hey, little dude, I'm also excited to see. I gotta leave. Don't die. Let me go with you. If I'm with you, you won't die. No, little dude, I gotta go do the thing. I'm awesome and I'm dead. Like,
there's spoilers for you. That's how the book goes. That's
exactly like how the book's been out for fucking ever,
Yeah, I mean that's the relationship in the book. It's just like these two are some weird age difference, but chill bros. The end. Not explained.
Oh, okay. So that's not misstep of adaptation. That's just the material.
Yeah,
okay.
It's not like the Duncan Idaho saved Paul's life at age 3, and then all of a sudden he was.
I didn't know if he trained him, if he was one of the people training him, or if there was some other. They seem like brothers, but I didn't know what was going on with that made it that way. You sort of get introduced to him out of the fear of losing him, but he's this big bravado badass, which you expect, and he goes down swinging, which is great, but it's supposed to mean something, but it doesn't mean anything to me watching him die.
Yeah, it is. He is his trainer, and they explain it in a bit of a throwaway line when tiny little Josh Brolin comes onto the scene, and comparatively, and Paul says, "Oh, you're my trainer now," and he says, "Yeah, now that Idaho's gone."
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, that's a throwaway line. So it's like a blink and you'll miss it type deal. Yeah, I love all parts of
I
this.
blinked.
It's the wrong time of blinking, but you blinked. What's your number 3 there, sir?
My number 3 cannot be compared to Dune. Not because I think my film is better. I do not, because this is a fucking subjective list, but because it's so very fucking different. It is an adaptation, but where Dune was adapted from a piece of literature, something that's, depending on your perspective, beloved. Others rip off of other cultures and not really given its grace and due. It's all about perspective. The movie that sits at number 3 for me is available for streaming on Netflix in the US. It's America the fucking Motion Picture. I watched this movie and immediately watched it again. I grabbed Crystal and went, get your ass in here. And I think at the time it released, Preston was still a new bebe. And so it was easier to rock him down while watching something. Amusingly, we went through all of the Mission Impossibles when Connor was born. That's how we got through rewatching all that. And you're up at 3 a.m. What the fuck are you going to watch?
Yep.
But America, the Motion Picture, it's done by the same people that have done all these Comedy Central, like Archer and a whole bunch of other FX programs too. Slew of amazing vocal cast people. They get Will Forte doing Abraham Lincoln again. Shout out to Clone High.
Yeah.
But it is such a misrepresentation of history while also basing a lot of its misrepresentation on actual fucking history. And it does it in the most beautiful way, where I think even at one moment, Killer Mike is literally his character is staring at where the camera would be, being like, yeah, but you know, what could go wrong, or whatever, some sort of bullshit talking about the systemic racism in America. But it's also the kind of movie where when Abraham Lincoln dies at the beginning after having been killed by a lycanthrope played by Benedict Arnold is a lycanthrope.
Okay.
And rips out his throat. And at the funeral, you've got all these other presidents that are not around at all, but you can tell that one of them is Lin-Manuel Miranda's Alexander Hamilton. Like, the movie is just riddled with these little things. And as the son of a historian, there's a lot that I've been exposed to. And so there was a lot that I picked up that just amused me to no end. Is it a good movie? No, not really, but it is my number 3 favorite fucking movie of this year because it had the balls to fucking go for it. And I like big swings sometimes. It's not all about the movies that make me cry. Sometimes it's the ones that make me laugh ridiculously.
There you go. There you go. Speaking of movies that made me cry, number 2, Spider-Man No Way Home. And
glad you clarified. I was literally about to write Far From Home. Like, what?
Buddy. It's such a good movie. I was expecting to go in, have myself a fun time, and dip on out. I was not expecting the amount of tears that came out of my eyes watching this movie. And most of them, actually, I think all of them were just overwhelming tears of happiness and emotion, and my body not knowing what to do with all of this happiness and manifesting itself in tears, because I was just so I felt like this is what we wanted to see. We got what we wanted, and then so much more. It's great. It's justice was served to certain characters in the movie. It does.
I feel like you need to mince words for my sake. The entire movie got spoiled, I'd say, by Friday morning.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Some people in the press were like, I think these are fake. I'm going to put my screenshot name on them and then post them up there. And then it hit my timeline.
John fucking Campia.
I hope he's paid that $1 million he demanded after Eternals.
Yeah, right. Probably not. Yeah, not a big fan of that dude. It serves, like I said, it serves justice to people. It does a great job of wrapping up a trilogy of Spider-Man movies, and also does such a good job of setting up the future of Spider-Man movies.
Not Venom. Fuck that guy.
Not Venom. Fuck that guy. Well, well, it might do a little bit more venom setup than you think it does. It's a good movie.
Oh, I don't disagree. And I read an interesting theory. When you're done, I'll share that.
All right, right on. It's so much fun, heart humor, what you've come to expect from an MCU movie. I do believe we have reached the end of Marty McFly, Tom Holland, and I'm interested to see where he goes from here.
Whoa.
This is
wrong. That wasn't Tom Holland.
Okay. It's just good. It's just so damn good. So much fun. It is, I think, for me, the preeminent movie going experience of the year.
Well, that's saying something considering you had Dune. So I totally get that.
Yeah. It's a whole different kind of vibe. Like, first time I saw Dune, it was just in a room full of critics. So everyone was just like, yes, they're very good or very bad. And then the next time I saw it, I was in a theater of normal people. And most of them were just like, we don't know what the fuck this movie's all about or what's going on. And then there's the chosen few there. And they're like, yay, it's the thing we wanted to see. But this was completely different, man. Like, the theater was a rock concert. It was just cheers all over the place from the Marvel leaflet opening, the pages turning, people immediately started going in. And I was like, oh, it's gonna be that kind of movie. And it did not disappoint, regardless of all the clowns and the fools on Twitter who were mad that people were enjoying themselves in the theater. It was an experience that I will not forget for quite some time.
Two things. First of all, one, I'm glad that I can class up for you, if you will, our critic screenings, because I worry about my behavior sometimes. And I often think about when I stood up at the end of Eternals and went, Daryl, what the fuck was that? I think was my verbatim response. Please don't lose any of your beer. But whereas your apparently interpretation of the Atlanta film critics was, is this a good thing? At least in North Carolina, could be like, yo, what the fuck was that shit? Like, because I'm pretty sure my exact words were, Daryl, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, and
I don't understand.
I had no answers because I was thinking the same thing coming out of Eternals. Yeah.
But number two, at least in defense of the people that, as you refer to them, sort of killjoys, people online, if I were in a theater watching a movie, even a movie, Endgame, Avengers 1, right? The Hulk smash line, my audience flipped out. Mjolnir getting picked up by Captain America in Endgame, my audience flipped out. If I were in a theater which had that, we saw that clip of those people, it looked like they turned their stationary seats into a 40X ride.
Yeah.
At that point, I don't know what the fuck is happening up there. I'm worried that my theater's falling apart. I get that frustration, like seeing it and being like, that is amazing as a reaction. But if I'm in the theater, I'm like, I want to shut the fuck. I want to watch the movie. Like, I don't know what's happening. So I totally see it from your perspective, and I totally get it, and I understand it. Let people have their fun. On the other hand, it's like, but I want to see the movie. So there's that balance of be awesome, be amazing, be in it, be shouting, but also know when to be quiet so we can keep doing it. Now, I don't know the scene that was on screen when everybody was losing their shit.
I'll say this. They know these things. They know when people are going to lose their shit, and they know how to bake those scenes in and edit those scenes to give them that time to lose their shit. Because I saw it Thursday, saw it Friday. Everyone losing their shit on Thursday. Strange enough, Friday, not a peep damn near had the audience. And I was like, we can't have all be on our second and third time watching this movie. Now,
yes, they can.
Yes, they
Based
can.
on what I also saw online, people were like, I saw it Thursday night, then I went back, saw it Thursday night, and then I saw it at like 4 a.m. on Friday, and then there's a reason why it's about to hit $1 billion.
So all the parts where people were losing their shit the second time, I was like, okay, so I didn't miss anything, because they knew how to bake that shit into the movie and into the script. Specifically, I think for that reason, they know where the pops are going to be.
Well, but yes, I will let you know when I finally watch it, sadly in the solitude of my home. where I'll go, "Hey Daryl, I watched it." And yeah, there's like 5 minutes where nobody says anything. They just look at each other like, "Eh,
Stare at the
eh."
camera. Are you done yet?
It's
Yeah.
gonna be so awkward. How did you not notice this, Daryl? Were you guys just yelling the whole time?
We were just high-fiving, running up and down the aisles, cartwheels.
Oh,
There's
that's
a
why they're all sitting around the table just high-fiving each other. Yay, we're
Yep.
in the same room.
There's a polar bear on a unicycle that went through my theater. It was weird, but yeah,
so
it was all there, man.
Circus.
Had a birthday hat on. It was weird. What is your number two, sir?
Real quick, interesting theory, because I made my joke about Venom. Interesting theory is that because of getting Venom, Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock shunted over and then shunted back, and he leaves behind the drippy droppy. That's Carnage. We all know it's Carnage because that's canonically Carnage, right? That's what that's going to be. It's not going to be Venom because any child of fuck you. Anyway, I know my comic history. But in all seriousness, the theory, and I read about this on Instagram, is that because of that, they've now introduced the possibility of Venom in the MCU.
Yeah.
But that the Sony Spider-Man, Tom Holland could stay in the MCU and do that stuff and meet his own Venom. But that the Mobius trailer has Oscorp in it and is Sony. Apparently, somewhere in the movie, I don't know if you caught it with all the screaming, yelling, and screaming, there's no Oscorp in the MCU.
They do mention that in the movie.
Or in the Tobey Maguire universe. So that there's some comment about that, which means that if there's no Oscorp, then it can't be the Sony universe, which means there is a Sony universe with Andrew Garfield. So that they could potentially try to bring back Andrew Garfield for another Spider-Man movie. Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock and Jared Leto's Mobius could interact with him.
People will bend over backwards to see if they can get Andrew Garfield to another Spider-Man movie.
People are trying to figure out how to bring Tobey Maguire into Multiverse of Madness. And if he were in that movie, don't you think at this point, Tobey Maguire would have been like, "Hey guys, I'm in this fucking movie." Because apparently that's all he was doing with No Way Home.
yeah. No, that theory, I don't think it holds much water or much weight. We don't have Eddie Brock. We do have Flash Thompson, so that's going to be your Venom probably. The Flash Thompson Venom.
Great actor. Don't like the character.
I love this version. I like that they've changed it from physical bully to a more modern day elitist classist bully. I think that's an interesting spin on things.
In rewatching the first movie, the worst thing he does is call him Penis Parker.
Penis Parker, which I laugh every single time because it's so stupid. It's so stupid. Yeah. And I do like that they have that dichotomy in Far From Home of him still being that complete jerk to Peter while also being the hugest Spider-Man fan that there is. That's always a weird dichotomy to be there. Yeah, but I would not be surprised if we get that little symbiote left behind that attaches himself to Flash, and that's going to be our Venom.
You just want Agent Venom. You just want to jump straight to Agent Venom.
I'm cool with that. Whatever gives me not Tom Hardy's Venom, I'm cool with it.
Tom Hardy is fucking amazing
in most movies, but not Venom. What's your number two, sir?
So fucking good. Speaking of Zendaya, Malcolm and Marie. We have talked about Malcolm and Marie a lot. Yeah. I watched this back in January and I reviewed it. It was, I think, my first 5-star review of 2021. I stand by it. I love the cinematography. I love the script. I love the performances from both of the characters. I love the pacing. I love every fucking thing about this movie. I've spoken about it at length. We've talked about it multiple times on the show. I do not feel like I need to defend it any further, but I will say this much, that anybody that listens to Malcolm's rant about critics and thinks that it's Levinson speaking for himself needs to go back and listen to what he's saying. That and the fact that both John David Washington and Zendaya were producers on this, they did help craft the script, and they spoke about this in Q&As and interviews and everything else. They did not say anything that didn't feel natural to them. And so don't think for a moment that John was Sam's mouthpiece in fucking happening. But that is my number two.
There you go. Malcolm and Marie. Good movie.
Thank you.
Good movie.
I agree. I didn't make it, but thank you.
Great minimalist set design there. Good cinematography. I dig that movie, man. And number one, we know what it is. Let's get on with it. What's your number? That was my number 3, sir.
Yeah, but it was part 1. Part 2, Dune.
Part 2. Oh man, don't damn the Dune Part 2 trailer was like, if it exists, would be my number 1. It's the Green Knight. My love for the Green Knight has been shared many times. I have held the light for this movie for quite some time now. It's quite rare that we get a fantasy movie of this caliber for adults. It is a strange, I'm not going to say deconstruction because that word's used far too much now, but it is a turn on the head of the hero's journey, I think. Set design, cinematography, direction, pacing, editing, acting. It is all just very on point. I feel like this is a movie. Very, very rarely do I feel like this movie was fucking made for me. This is one of like maybe 2 or 3 movies I've ever felt like this was made for me. Especially considering before they announced this, I had been yelling from the rooftops for years. If you want to do a connected universe, do King Arthur and his round table and make it fucking weird. And not going to get that, but I get an idea of what that would be like with the Green Knight. And seeing a decayed Arthur and a decayed Guinevere and the end times of Camelot, which is not something you often see in movies. You get a little bit of it there in Excalibur when they can't find the Grail, but it's just all around, man. It's beautiful. It's just a beautiful movie that was absolutely an amazing experience for me to watch in theaters. Watched it many times since this came out on home video. It is part of my new Christmas tradition. I love this movie to pieces, and I will continue to carry the torch for it for as long as this movie exists. As long as I exist, I will carry the torch for this movie.
Or until The Northman comes out.
Or until The Northman comes out.
One or the other.
When my boy Bobby Eggers is on screen. Yeah, I'm all about some of The Northman, man. I can't wait. And it kind of feels like that has that same tone to me a little bit as The Green Knight. And it's just a nice, juicy, meaty revenge joint, which we haven't seen in a while.
I'll say I rewound the trailer. I was watching it on my couch in the office, and I'm watching it, and I see something with a spear, and he throws it. I went, wait a minute. I rewound it, and I went, motherfucker, he caught the spear, spun and threw it back. Motherfuck.
Right. That's the level of badass that I aspire to be. Yeah, it is currently sitting at my number 1 most anticipated movie, but that's because I'm not sure. Well, number 2, but I'm not sure what all else is coming in next year. It's Multiverse of Madness, The Northman, and then we will see from there.
Yeah, and having only sadly had time to watch The Green Knight once, I concur. It is all over my ballots for a number of different categories. And not just because I feel like if I didn't, you'd show up in my house somehow and murder me in my sleep.
Oh, I
like
know.
You'd straight up I don't have a sash on me, so it would be permanent.
Makes you vulnerable.
It does. I'm not protected by my mother's love, but it is a phenomenal film that if by this point you have not given yourself the chance to see it, at least add it to a saved list on like Best Buy or your Amazon or wherever. It has been on sale. So if you have been hesitant to pick it up, hesitant to check it out, pick it up on sale. You won't regret the purchase.
If anybody listening to this is like, are you willing to do a watch party with the Green Knight? I will say yes every single time. Just tell me the date and the time to show up and I will be there and I will watch it with you virtually or whatever the case may be.
Here's what you should do. Set this up for Paprika. Figure out the timing so that the sword comes down at the stroke of midnight.
Oh, that's what I should do. That's the New Year's joint right there. Yeah.
Happy New Year.
I like it. I like it.
It's either that when the sword comes down or when he pulls the sash off and his head rolls down. Like
when the head comes off, that's the stroke of midnight, I think.
Yeah. Different stroke.
So good. Different strokes, different folks. What's your number 1, sir?
Different strokes for different folks defines our top 10 lists.
Yes, it does.
Quite frankly. Here's another movie I have spoken of at exceptional length since I saw it in March. I was lucky enough to cover South by Southwest this year, hoping to do it again. This is a film that since I saw it, I have done nothing but sing its praises. It is a film which I've mentioned on multiple occasions that if I ever met someone where I felt like if you want to get a sense of how I see myself, watch this movie. It is Justine Bateman's Violet.
Okay.
It is available on VOD now, I believe. It was in select theaters last month. I believe you can still get it digitally. I have been stalking the website to see if they're making any kind of physical release because a lot of the release dates have been moving up, particularly during COVID. I mean, HBO Max next year, they may not be doing same day, but they're doing 46 days after theatrical. It's going to hit HBO Max.
Yep.
So if they don't do a Batman screening here in Charlotte for that, at least I know in April I can watch it and do my review then. But if you haven't heard of Violet by Justine Bateman, go check it out. Go check out a trailer, see if it's of interest. Olivia Munn, Luke Bracey, Justin Theroux. It's a phenomenal cast. Justin Theroux is only a voice, and what a fucking asshole he is. But we all have that voice in our heads that tells us the worst about ourselves. And the way in which Violet, the story unfolds, it is part of the reason, not the film, but the ideas within are part of the reason why I've gone back to therapy, so that I can quiet the voice and be a little bit more at peace. So if you have not seen it, please, 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 I recommend it. Check it out.
There you go. Can you give me a rundown from 10 to 1 what your list was again, please, sir?
No problem. 10 to 1. Documentary, Clerk. 9, The Matrix Resurrections. Resurrections. Women as Losers. Shiva Baby. Bell, coming to you in 2022. The Mitchells versus the Machines. Derek Delgadio's In and of Itself. America, the Motion Picture. Malcolm and Marie. Violet.
Boom. And mine is 10, Derek Delgadio's In and of Itself, 9, Zack Snyder's Justice League, 8, The French Dispatch, 7, No Time to Die, 6, Judas and the Black Messiah, 5, Benedetta, 4, Pig, 3, Dune, 2, Spider-Man, No Way Home, and 1, The Green Knight.
The way you say Benedetta is so different than all the others. I think you have a better number one. I think Benedetta is your number one, and you just can't put the Green Knight at anywhere else. Feel that social pressure.
I've got
go back, play the audio. Oh, In and of Itself. Oh, Justice League. Princess Benedetta.
That movie, man. God, I love me some Benedetta. Also was on my top 10 favorite movie posters for the year, as was Violet, by the way. There you go. That's it. You got anything else before we wrap this bad boy up, before we close on out the year that was 2021?
When we started this podcast, this particular episode, you had asked about movies this year and what I've thought of them. I will remind everybody, this is all subjective. If you only see 5 movies, your list of your favorite films are going to be short, especially if you only liked 1 or 2 of them. If you see 500 movies, you might like most of them and only really truly love a small number of them, as I did with mine. Love what you love. If any of these films, you haven't seen them, they sound interesting, please go check them out. We encourage you to do that. But if you've got a different list, fucking awesome. Enjoy what you love.
Enjoy what you love. Start with The Green Knight when you want to reach out for any of these movies, and then work your way from there.
Yeah. But make sure you watch Benedetta.
Yeah, that's it, man. That is it for our final episode of 2021. We'll be back in 2022, man. Time to be determined. We'll get that figured out, and we'll be back with.
We usually come back, I think, around the Oscars. I think we usually take a break and then come back for the mini-sodes.
That's exactly what's gonna happen. Well,
depends on when they have them this year.
Yeah. Well, I'll be taking January off.
Again?
Yes, and every January from here on out. So yeah, we'll be back for you sometime in February. We will get this all figured out for you. We'll be back with Adventures. We'll be back with brand new year, brand new movies to talk about coming up, man. Keep sticking with us and we'll keep delivering good shit for you. And that's it, man. That is it for this episode of the Santa Man. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully some of your favorites were on this list. And if not, we've given you plenty to check out. Reach out to us and let us know what you think should have been on this list. And I guarantee you we'll ignore what you said. And until then,
not true.
Oh, not, I mean, yeah, not true. Not true at all. We'll be back next year, man. So then you all take it easy and have a good one.
Happy New Year.